Have you ever found yourself getting angry over the smallest things? Why does a little comment or situation sometimes stir such a strong reaction within us? What would life be like if we could erase that anger for good? Imagine going through your day without being weighed down by frustration or irritation. How would that change your relationships, your peace of mind, and your overall happiness? Think of a moment when something minor, like someone cutting you off in traffic, made your blood boil. What if you could simply let it go, just like that? Anger is something we all experience, but it often feels like it's controlling us. Yet, the teachings of Buddhism show us that anger is not a permanent part of us. It's a passing storm that we can learn to calm. Just like the clouds that cover the sun, anger can obscure our peace, but it doesn't have to stay forever. Welcome to Wisdom Woven, where today, we explore the journey to erase anger from your life for good. Through simple but powerful insights from Buddhism, you'll discover how to dissolve anger and bring lasting calmness into your heart. By the end of this video, you'll have practical steps to not only manage but completely overcome anger, transforming how you react to life's challenges. Before we dive into these teachings, I want to ask for a small favor. There are so many views on this channel, but only 0.2% of viewers actually subscribe. If you find this content helpful, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us continue bringing valuable insights to more people just like you. Now, let's begin exploring the deeper roots of anger. Where does it come from? What fuels it? We often think anger comes from external events, someone's words, an unpleasant situation, but Buddhism teaches us that anger arises from within. It's our own attachment to how we think things should be that often ignites our frustration. When reality doesn't match our expectations, anger appears. But here's the good news. If anger comes from within, it means we have the power to change it. As we continue, you'll learn simple but transformative ways to let go of anger and bring more peace into your life. The root causes of anger in our minds. Anger. It comes to all of us at some point. It rises like a fire, quick to burn and consume everything in its path. But do you ever stop to ask, where does this fire come from? Why does it appear so suddenly and fiercely in my mind? In the teachings of Buddhism, we learn that anger is not just a feeling that comes from outside events. It has deeper roots, and if we want to erase it for good, we must understand where it begins. Let me tell you a story. Once, a young monk came to me with a troubled heart. He was quick to anger, and every small disturbance seemed to set him off. He told me how he became furious when others interrupted him, how his mind would boil when things didn't go as planned. I asked him, "Do you believe your anger is caused by those interruptions, by those people who seem to be against you?" He nodded, convinced that his frustration came from the world around him. But I smiled gently and told him, "No, your anger is not out there. It is inside you. The world only triggers what already lives within. You see, anger often appears when our expectations are not met. We expect things to go our way. We expect people to behave in certain manners. And when they don't, when life doesn't flow as smoothly as we wish, we become irritated. But think about it. Are our expectations always realistic? Do we have control over how others act, or how life unfolds? We do not. And yet, we cling to our desires for how things should be. This is one of the root causes of anger, attachment to expectations. The Buddha teaches us that attachment is the source of suffering. When we hold tightly to how we think things must be, we create a gap between reality and our desires. That gap is where anger lives. The larger the gap, the more frustration and anger we feel. So, what can we do? The first step is to recognize this attachment. Realize that our anger often has little to do with what's happening around us and everything to do with the thoughts and expectations we carry inside. Now, another root cause of anger is fear. Fear of losing control, fear of being hurt, fear of being disrespected. When we feel threatened, anger becomes a shield we use to protect ourselves. But what are we really protecting? Often, it is our ego. The ego is fragile, always wanting to be right, to be in control, to be recognized. When the ego feels threatened, anger is its defense mechanism. But this anger doesn't protect us. It only deepens our suffering. I remember another student who struggled with his temper. He would become furious whenever he felt slighted or disrespected. "They don't see me," he would say. "They don't value what I bring." I told him, "Your anger is not about their lack of recognition. It is about your attachment to being seen. You fear being invisible, and so your ego lashes out. When we cling to our sense of self, our ego, we invite anger in whenever we feel that sense of self is being attacked. But the Buddha teaches us that the self is an illusion. When we loosen our grip on the ego, we loosen the grip of anger as well. Another deep root of anger lies in our own unresolved pain. Sometimes, anger is not about the present moment, but about old wounds that have never fully healed. These wounds may be from childhood, past relationships, or experiences where we felt hurt or abandoned. When someone or something touches that old pain, anger rises as a form of protection. But instead of healing the wound, this anger only adds another layer of suffering. To erase anger, we must be willing to look at our pain, to acknowledge it, and to begin the process of healing. But how do we heal these deep wounds? One way is through compassion. Compassion for ourselves and for others. When we are kind to ourselves, we create space to heal. And when we extend that kindness to others, we soften the anger that may rise when they hurt or disappoint us. Compassion helps us to see that everyone, including ourselves, is doing the best they can with the circumstances they face. In Buddhist teachings, there is a beautiful practice called metta, or loving-kindness meditation. It is a practice of sending love and compassion to ourselves and others, even to those who have hurt us. When we practice metta, we begin to dissolve the roots of anger. We start by wishing ourselves well, saying, "May I be happy. May I be peaceful. May I be free from suffering." Then we extend this wish to others, even to those we may feel angry toward. May they be happy. May they be peaceful. May they be free from suffering. This practice opens our hearts and helps us let go of the anger that binds us. Another important teaching in Buddhism is the concept of impermanence, or anicca. Everything in life is constantly changing, including our feelings of anger. No emotion, no matter how strong, lasts forever. When we are in the grip of anger, it can feel overwhelming, like it will never end. But just as a storm eventually passes, so too will our anger. If we can remember that anger is impermanent, we can learn to ride through it without becoming consumed by it. The next time you feel anger rising, remind yourself, this too shall pass. Breathe deeply and allow the emotion to move through you without clinging to it. In understanding the root causes of anger, we begin to see that anger is not an enemy to be fought. It is a messenger, pointing us to areas in our lives where we are holding on too tightly, whether to expectations, to our ego, or to old pain. When we listen to this message, instead of reacting to it, we begin the process of releasing anger for good. So, what have we learned? Anger is not caused by the outside world. It is rooted in our own attachments, fears, and unresolved pain. To erase anger, we must first understand its origins within us. We must be willing to let go of our rigid expectations, to release our grip on the ego, and to confront the old wounds that still cause us suffering. And through practices like mindfulness, compassion, and metta meditation, we can begin to dissolve the anger that once seemed so overwhelming. The journey to erasing anger is not a quick fix, but it is possible. With patience, awareness, and the right tools, we can transform our relationship with anger and cultivate a deeper sense of peace in our lives. And remember, as you continue this journey, you are not alone. Many have walked this path before you, and with each step, you are moving closer to a life free from the burdens of anger. Now, take a deep breath. Let this understanding settle into your heart. The roots of anger may run deep, but with mindfulness and compassion, we can begin to untangle them, one by one. Cultivating patience, the antidote to anger. Patience. It is often said that patience is the antidote to anger, and there is deep wisdom in that. You see, when we are patient, anger has no soil in which to grow. Without patience, even the smallest frustrations can turn into towering flames of rage. But with patience, we create space. Space to breathe, to think, to let go. Let me guide you through this path of patience, so we can begin to weaken the grip of anger in our hearts. Think of anger as a sudden storm. It comes quickly, with a fierce gust of wind and rain. But like any storm, it will pass. The problem is, when we get caught up in the storm, when we lose ourselves to anger, it feels like the storm will never end. Our minds become clouded, and we react without thinking. But what if we could pause for a moment? What if we could stand still in the middle of that storm and simply observe it without being swept away? Patience is the key to standing still in that storm. It allows us to watch the winds of anger blow, but not get caught up in them. This is not easy, of course. We live in a fast-paced world where everything demands our immediate reaction. But the teachings of Buddhism remind us that we don't need to rush. We can step back, observe, and respond thoughtfully. Patience doesn't mean suppressing anger or ignoring it. It means giving yourself the space to understand it before you act. When you feel anger rising, the first step is to acknowledge it. Say to yourself, here is anger. This simple recognition can be powerful. It creates a gap between you and the anger. You are no longer controlled by it. You are observing it. And in this space, patience can begin to grow. The second step is to breathe. Yes, just breathe. Take a deep breath in and let it out slowly. This simple act of breathing helps calm the mind and body. It slows down the racing thoughts and the pounding heart. It gives you time to reflect, to remember that you don't need to react right away. Patience is not something that magically appears in difficult moments. It is something we practice, step by step, breath by breath. When you practice patience, you are also practicing wisdom. You are learning to see things clearly, without the cloud of anger. Imagine a cup of muddy water. If you keep stirring it, the water remains cloudy. But if you let it sit still, the mud settles, and the water becomes clear. Our minds are the same. When we are patient, we allow the mud of anger to settle, and clarity returns. You may wonder, how do we cultivate this patience in everyday life? It starts with small moments. When someone says something that annoys you, instead of reacting immediately, pause, count to 3, or take a deep breath. This small pause can prevent anger from taking over. At first, it might feel unnatural. You might be used to reacting quickly, to letting anger flow without restraint. But with practice, this pause becomes easier, and patience becomes a natural part of your response. In Buddhism, we often speak of mindfulness, which is closely linked to patience. Mindfulness means being fully aware of the present moment, without judgment. When you are mindful, you can notice when anger begins to rise. You can observe it with curiosity rather than judgment. Anger is here, you might say, and with this awareness, you can choose a different response. Instead of lashing out or letting anger fester, you can choose patience. You can choose to wait, to reflect, and to respond with kindness. There is also a deeper teaching here about the nature of time. Anger often arises when we are in a hurry, when we feel like we don't have enough time, or when things aren't moving as quickly as we want them to. But what is time, really? In the grand scheme of life, a few moments of waiting, a few moments of delay, are nothing. Yet we let these small moments control us. Patience teaches us to release this sense of urgency, to realize that we do not need to rush. Everything unfolds in its own time. Another important aspect of patience is acceptance. We often become angry because we resist what is happening. We want things to be different than they are. We want people to behave in a certain way, or events to unfold in a way that suits us. But life is not always like that. People are not always like that. When we accept things as they are, rather than fighting against them, we find peace. Patience is the ability to sit with what is, without trying to force it to change. Of course, this doesn't mean we should tolerate injustice or harmful behavior. Patience does not mean passivity. It means responding from a place of calm wisdom, rather than reactive anger. When we are patient, we are more effective in creating change because we are not blinded by anger. We see clearly, and we act from a place of inner strength. Sometimes, people think that patience makes you weak. They think that if you don't react, you are letting others walk all over you. But patience is not weakness. It is strength. It takes great strength to remain calm in the face of anger. It takes courage to pause, to reflect, and to choose a thoughtful response. The world may push you to react quickly, to fight fire with fire. But true strength comes from being able to stand still in the storm. One of the great teachings of Buddhism is that everything is impermanent. Anger, too, is impermanent. It rises, it peaks, and it fades away. If we hold on to it, if we feed it, it can grow and cause harm. But if we practice patience, we allow it to pass. This is a profound truth. No matter how strong your anger feels in the moment, it will not last forever. Patience helps us to remember this, and to ride the wave of anger without being overwhelmed by it. As you move through your day, look for opportunities to practice patience. When things don't go your way, when someone irritates you, when you feel the urge to react, pause. Breathe. Remind yourself that you don't need to act immediately. Give yourself the space to choose a wiser response. With each small act of patience, you are weakening the power of anger in your life. Remember, patience is a skill. It is something you can cultivate, something that grows stronger with practice. And as your patience grows, your anger diminishes. It's like tending to a garden. The more you nurture the seeds of patience, the less room there is for the weeds of anger. Over time, you will find that the storms of anger pass more quickly, and you remain calm and steady, no matter what life throws your way. So, my friend, practice patience. Be kind to yourself in this journey. There will be moments when anger arises, and you may not always respond perfectly. But each moment of patience is a victory. Each pause is a step closer to freedom from anger. Embrace this path with an open heart, and you will discover the peace that lies beyond the storm. The power of compassion in dissolving anger. Anger. It is like a fire burning in your heart, isn't it? You feel it flare up when someone says something that hurts you, or when life doesn't go the way you expect. Anger can come in many forms: frustration, irritation, even hatred. But what if I told you there is a way to dissolve that anger completely? The answer lies in a very simple, yet powerful, quality: compassion. You see, compassion is like water. Just as water can put out a fire, compassion can calm the flames of anger within you. But what is compassion, really? It's not just a feeling of pity or sympathy for someone. No, it's much deeper than that. Compassion is the ability to truly understand another person's suffering. It's the desire to help them, to ease their pain, even if they've caused you harm. When you cultivate compassion, anger cannot survive in your heart. Let's start by looking at why anger arises in the first place. Often, anger comes from a sense of, I have been wronged, I deserve better, or I am not being treated fairly. Anger is deeply tied to our ego, our sense of self. When something threatens that sense of self, anger flares up like a reflex. But when you shift your focus from I to you, or even better, to us, something remarkable happens. That tight grip of anger starts to loosen. When you understand that the person who hurt you is also suffering in their own way, your anger turns into compassion. Now, this might sound simple, but I understand it's not easy in practice. Imagine someone cutting you off in traffic. Your first reaction is likely frustration, maybe even anger. But if you take a moment to reflect, you may realize that the person driving may be rushing because they're late for something important, or maybe they're dealing with their own stress. When you can see their situation from a compassionate point of view, your anger fades. You might even wish them well, hoping they make it to their destination safely. This shift in perspective is the essence of compassion. Buddhism teaches that we are all connected. We are not separate, isolated individuals moving through life on our own. Instead, we are part of an intricate web of relationships, actions, and reactions. When you feel anger towards someone, it's because you see them as separate from you. But when you cultivate compassion, you recognize the shared humanity between you. You realize that, just like you, they have fears, desires, and struggles. This realization is the beginning of dissolving anger. In Buddhism, we practice something called metta, or loving-kindness meditation, to develop compassion. This meditation is a powerful tool to help us open our hearts, not just to the people we love, but also to those who have hurt us. It involves sending thoughts of kindness and goodwill to others, starting with yourself and extending out to all beings. When you sit in stillness and wish for others to be happy, peaceful, and free from suffering, you begin to soften the hardness in your heart. Over time, the anger you once held starts to dissolve naturally. Let's take a simple example to make this clearer. Imagine a close friend has said something hurtful to you. Your initial reaction is likely one of anger or disappointment. But before you react, try to pause. Take a deep breath. Instead of letting the anger take control, reflect on why your friend might have said those words. Perhaps they were having a difficult day, or maybe they didn't realize their words would hurt you. When you look at the situation through the lens of compassion, you begin to see that their actions were not meant to cause you pain. And even if they were, it's likely because they are struggling with their own unresolved emotions. This understanding doesn't excuse their behavior, but it helps you approach the situation with kindness rather than anger. Another important point to understand is that compassion is not weakness. Some people think that being compassionate means letting others walk all over you or accepting bad behavior, but that's not true at all. Compassion comes from a place of strength. It allows you to see clearly without getting caught up in the storm of emotions. When you respond to a situation with compassion, you're not avoiding it. You're handling it with wisdom and grace. Think of a river flowing around a rock. The river doesn't stop because the rock is in its way. It flows smoothly around it. In the same way, compassion allows you to move through life without being blocked by anger. The rock, or the difficult situation, is still there, but you don't get stuck. You flow past it, keeping your peace and your clarity intact. When you practice compassion, something wonderful happens inside you. Your mind becomes lighter. You no longer carry the heavy burden of anger. Anger weighs us down, clouds our judgment, and damages our relationships. But compassion frees you from all of that. It creates space for understanding, healing, and peace. The Buddha once said, "Hatred does not cease by hatred, but only by love. This is the eternal rule." What he meant is that you cannot fight fire with fire. If someone hurts you and you respond with anger, it only creates more suffering for both you and the other person. But when you respond with compassion, you break the cycle of anger and suffering. You create a space where healing can begin. Compassion doesn't mean you agree with or condone bad behavior. It simply means you choose not to let anger control your actions. When you respond with compassion, you take back your power. You are no longer a victim of your emotions. Instead, you become the master of your own mind, and this is a very powerful place to be. In moments of anger, try asking yourself, what is this person going through? What pain are they carrying that caused them to act this way? These simple questions can transform your perspective. They shift your mind from a place of anger to a place of understanding. And once you understand, compassion flows naturally. As you practice this more and more, you'll notice something amazing. Not only does your anger dissolve more quickly, but your relationships improve as well. People will respond to your compassion with kindness, and even if they don't, you will have the inner peace that comes from knowing you did not allow anger to take over. In conclusion, the power of compassion is one of the greatest tools we have to dissolve anger. By shifting our focus from ourselves to others, by recognizing the shared humanity in all of us, and by practicing loving kindness, we can break free from the cycle of anger and experience true peace. Compassion is not just a feeling. It's a practice, a way of living that brings lightness to the heart and clarity to the mind. Remember, you are not alone on this journey. Every person you meet is struggling in their own way, just like you. When you see the world through the eyes of compassion, you not only free yourself from anger, but you also make the world a kinder, more peaceful place. So, let us cultivate compassion, and with it, dissolve our anger for good. Mindful awareness. Observing anger without reacting. Let's talk about something very important today, mindful awareness. You see, when we are angry, we tend to react without even thinking. It's almost automatic. But here is a truth I want you to really understand. You do not have to react to your anger. You can choose a different path. And that path begins with mindful awareness. What does mindful awareness mean? It means paying close attention to what is happening inside you, without getting caught up in it. It's like standing on the edge of a river and watching the water flow. The water represents your thoughts, your feelings, your anger, too. You can watch it, notice it, but you don't have to jump in. You don't have to be swept away by the current. When anger arises, it feels very powerful, doesn't it? It takes over your mind, your body, your words, and actions. But here's the key. Anger itself is just a feeling. It doesn't control you unless you let it. Mindfulness allows you to see that feeling without acting on it. Instead of letting anger push you into doing or saying something you might regret later, you can take a step back. You can pause. You can breathe. Imagine this. You're having a conversation and someone says something that upsets you. In that moment, your body tenses up, your mind races, and you feel the heat of anger rising. Normally, you might snap back with a harsh word, or your mood would change instantly. But this time, you remember to pause. You notice the anger rising within you, like a wave building up in the ocean. You don't try to stop it, you just notice it. You observe it. "Ah, I see you, anger," you say to yourself. "You've come up again, but I don't have to act on you." And with that recognition, something magical happens. The wave of anger begins to lose its power over you. It may still be there, but it's no longer controlling you. This is what mindful awareness does. It allows you to recognize the emotion without letting it take over. You're not pushing the anger away, pretending it's not there, or trying to suppress it. You are simply aware of it. And this awareness is the beginning of freedom. Buddhism teaches us that anger, like all emotions, is impermanent. It comes and goes, just like everything else in life. When you react to anger without mindfulness, you give it more power, and it lingers. But when you observe it mindfully, you take away its strength. You realize that anger is just a temporary visitor in your mind, and it will pass if you allow it to. Now, let's go a little deeper into this. When you practice mindful awareness, you are training your mind to be present. Instead of being caught up in the story of why you're angry, you are focused on the feeling itself. You might notice your heartbeat getting faster, your muscles tightening, or your breath becoming shallow. This is your body's reaction to anger. By being mindful of these physical sensations, you can bring your attention to the present moment. Try this. The next time you feel anger rising, take a deep breath. Feel the air filling your lungs, and notice the tension in your body. As you exhale, imagine releasing some of that tension. Don't try to force the anger to go away, but simply observe it. You might find that by simply observing, the intensity of the anger begins to decrease. You see, anger feeds off of reaction. When you react to it, you fuel it. But when you observe it mindfully, without reacting, you starve it. Slowly, the anger loses its grip on you. One of the great teachings of Buddhism is that everything is interconnected. When you're angry, it's not just your mind that is affected. Your body is affected too, and the people around you feel it as well. Anger is like a ripple in a pond. It starts small, but it can spread and affect everything in its path. But here's something beautiful. Mindfulness can stop that ripple before it spreads. When you practice mindful awareness of anger, you're not just helping yourself, you're helping everyone around you. Your calm presence can change the energy in a room. When others see you handling anger with grace and mindfulness, they too can learn from your example. It's like being a calm anchor in the middle of a storm. People will naturally be drawn to your peaceful energy. Another thing to remember is that mindfulness is a practice. It's not something you master overnight. It takes time, patience, and consistency. There will be times when anger sneaks up on you, and you react before you even realize it. That's okay. It's all part of the journey. The key is to keep coming back to your practice, to keep reminding yourself to observe, not react. One tool that can help you with this is meditation. Meditation trains the mind to be more present, more aware, and less reactive. Even just a few minutes of meditation each day can make a big difference. In meditation, you practice watching your thoughts and feelings come and go, without getting attached to them. This is the same skill you use when observing anger in your daily life. As you continue to practice mindful awareness, you'll notice something interesting. Anger will begin to lose its hold on you. It won't feel as overwhelming as it once did. You'll start to see it for what it truly is, just a fleeting emotion. And as you become more mindful, you'll find that anger arises less and less often. So, the next time you feel anger bubbling up inside, remember this: you don't have to react. You can observe it with mindful awareness, and in doing so, you take back your power. Anger doesn't control you. You control how you respond to it. This is the path to true peace, the path to erasing anger for good. Keep practicing, keep observing, and remember that each moment of mindfulness brings you closer to freedom from anger. Understanding impermanence to let go of anger. Listen closely, dear one. In this moment, we embark on a journey of the mind and heart. The lesson I wish to share with you today is one of the deepest truths in life. It is a truth that can help you finally let go of anger, not just for a while, but for good. This truth is the understanding of impermanence. You see, everything in this world is always changing. Nothing, not even a single moment, stays the same. The sky above us may be clear and blue one day, and full of clouds the next. The trees that stand tall and strong today will one day grow old and fall. And just like the seasons shift from summer to winter, everything in our lives is constantly moving, constantly transforming. Now, think about your anger. When you are angry, it feels so intense, so powerful, doesn't it? It can overwhelm you, fill your entire mind and body, making you believe that this feeling will last forever. But here's something I want you to consider. Has there ever been a time when you stayed angry for the rest of your life? No, because even anger, no matter how strong it feels in the moment, is also impermanent. It too will pass. Anger is like a storm. When it arrives, the sky becomes dark, the winds howl, and the rain falls heavily. But no storm lasts forever. Eventually, the storm quiets down, the sky clears, and peace returns. In the same way, your anger will rise, and it will fall. This understanding of impermanence, of knowing that everything changes, helps us to realize that our anger does not need to control us. Many people hold on to their anger as if it is something permanent, something that defines them. But I tell you, anger is not a part of who you are. It is simply a temporary emotion, a visitor that comes and goes. The problem is, we often invite this visitor to stay longer than it should. We feed our anger by dwelling on the things that upset us, by replaying events in our minds, by holding on to grudges. But what if, instead of feeding our anger, we let it pass? What if we stopped holding on to it and simply allowed it to leave? In the teachings of Buddhism, we are often reminded of the nature of impermanence. Everything we experience, joy, sorrow, love, pain, even anger, is temporary. This truth helps us to remain calm and peaceful, even when life becomes difficult. When we realize that our anger will not last, we no longer feel the need to cling to it. We can let it go, just as we let go of a breath after we inhale. Imagine you are holding a hot coal in your hand. The longer you hold it, the more it burns you. But as soon as you release it, the pain begins to fade. Anger is like that hot coal. The longer you hold on to it, the more it hurts you. But if you recognize that you don't need to hold it, that you can let it go, you will begin to feel relief. The pain will begin to fade. But I understand, letting go of anger is not always easy. Sometimes we feel justified in our anger. We think, I have been wronged. I deserve to be angry. But ask yourself, who is suffering more from this anger? The person who wronged you, or yourself? More often than not, it is we who suffer the most from the anger we hold. It's like drinking poison and hoping the other person gets sick. The truth is, holding on to anger hurts us more than it hurts anyone else. So how do we begin to let go of this anger? The first step is to truly understand the nature of impermanence. Every emotion, including anger, is temporary. It will pass. Remind yourself of this truth whenever you feel anger rising within you. Take a deep breath and say to yourself, this too shall pass. You do not need to react to the anger. You do not need to give it power over you. Simply observe it, like a passing cloud in the sky, and let it go. The second step is to practice mindfulness. Mindfulness means being fully present in the moment, without judgment. When you are mindful, you can observe your anger without becoming attached to it. You can see it clearly for what it is, just another passing emotion. When you practice mindfulness, you become like a calm lake, reflecting everything around you without being disturbed by it. The ripples of anger may appear on the surface, but deep down, you remain still and peaceful. As you continue on this path, you will begin to notice something amazing. The more you practice understanding impermanence and mindfulness, the less power your anger will have over you. It may still arise from time to time, but it will no longer control you. Instead of reacting with frustration or rage, you will be able to pause, take a breath, and let the anger pass like a breeze. Another way to let go of anger is to practice compassion. When someone makes us angry, it is often because they are suffering in some way. Maybe they are stressed, hurt, or afraid. By understanding that the person who angered you is also going through their own struggles, you can begin to feel compassion for them. And when you feel compassion, it becomes much easier to let go of your anger. Think of the people in your life who have made you angry. What if, instead of holding on to that anger, you chose to feel compassion for them? What if, instead of blaming them, you wished for their happiness and well-being? This shift in perspective can dissolve your anger and replace it with kindness and understanding. You see, when we understand impermanence, practice mindfulness, and cultivate compassion, anger no longer has a place to stay. It may knock on the door, but we no longer invite it in. We acknowledge its presence, but we do not feed it. And eventually, it leaves on its own. As you go about your life, remember this truth. Everything changes. Your anger, no matter how strong it feels in the moment, will pass. You do not need to hold on to it. Let it go, and in its place, you will find peace. This is the path, the way to erase your anger for good. It is a path of understanding, mindfulness, and compassion. And with each step you take, you will find yourself growing lighter, more peaceful, and more free. So, let us continue on this journey together, and let us release the anger that has weighed us down for too long. Remember, everything is impermanent, even your anger. Let it go, and find the peace that is already within you. Embracing loving kindness as a tool for healing anger. Loving kindness is a powerful practice that can transform anger into compassion and peace. Imagine being able to respond to anger with understanding and love instead of frustration. How would your relationships change if you approached every situation with a heart full of kindness? What if, instead of holding on to anger, you chose to cultivate love and compassion within yourself? In Buddhism, loving kindness is known as metta. It is the practice of developing unconditional love and goodwill towards all beings, including ourselves. When we embrace metta, we open our hearts to forgiveness, patience, and understanding, which are essential for healing anger. Anger often stems from feelings of hurt, betrayal, or injustice. When we are angry, our minds become clouded, and our ability to see things clearly diminishes. Loving kindness helps us to look beyond the immediate emotions and understand the deeper reasons behind our anger. It allows us to see the humanity in others and recognize that everyone is on their own journey with their own struggles. One simple way to practice loving kindness is through meditation. Find a quiet place, sit comfortably, and take a few deep breaths. Begin by directing loving kindness towards yourself. Repeat phrases like, "May I be happy," "May I be peaceful," "May I be free from anger." As you feel the warmth of these wishes, extend them to others, starting with loved ones, then acquaintances, and even those you find challenging. When you practice metta, you start to break down the barriers that anger creates. Instead of seeing others as the source of your frustration, you begin to understand their perspectives and struggles. This shift in perception reduces the intensity of your anger and fosters a sense of connection and empathy. Loving kindness also helps us to forgive. Holding on to anger often means holding on to grudges and resentment. By cultivating metta, we learn to let go of these negative emotions and replace them with compassion. Forgiveness does not mean condoning wrong actions, but rather freeing ourselves from the burden of anger. In daily life, you can incorporate loving kindness by being mindful of your thoughts and reactions. When you feel anger rising, pause and take a deep breath. Remind yourself to approach the situation with kindness and understanding. Ask yourself, how can I respond with compassion instead of anger? Another aspect of metta is self-compassion. Often, we are our own harshest critics, which can fuel anger and frustration. By treating ourselves with the same kindness and understanding we offer others, we create a foundation of inner peace that makes it easier to handle external challenges without anger. Loving kindness also enhances our ability to communicate effectively. When we approach conversations with a heart full of compassion, we are more likely to listen actively and respond thoughtfully. This creates a positive cycle of mutual understanding and reduces the likelihood of anger escalating. Through the practice of metta, we cultivate a sense of interconnectedness with all beings. We begin to see that everyone experiences pain, joy, and challenges just like us. This realization fosters empathy and reduces the tendency to judge or blame others, which are common triggers for anger. In moments of conflict, loving kindness allows us to step back and see the bigger picture. Instead of getting caught up in the heat of the moment, we can maintain our composure and respond with grace. This not only diffuses the situation but also strengthens our relationships. Loving kindness also contributes to our overall well-being. Studies have shown that practicing metta can reduce stress, increase feelings of happiness, and improve our physical health. By regularly cultivating loving kindness, we create a positive ripple effect that enhances every aspect of our lives. Incorporating loving kindness into our daily routine can be simple yet profound. Start your day with a few minutes of metta meditation, sending positive wishes to yourself and others. Throughout the day, carry this sense of compassion with you, especially in challenging situations. When we embrace loving kindness, we transform our relationship with anger. Instead of allowing anger to control us, we take control of our emotions and choose a path of peace and understanding. This shift not only heals our anger, but also enriches our lives with deeper connections and greater inner harmony. Loving kindness is not a one-time practice, but a continuous journey. Each time we choose compassion over anger, we strengthen our ability to respond with kindness in the future. This ongoing practice leads to lasting change and a more peaceful, fulfilling life. As we continue on this path, remember that loving kindness begins with small steps. Even a brief moment of compassion can make a significant difference in how we handle our emotions and interact with others. Be patient with yourself and celebrate each act of kindness, no matter how small. In challenging times, loving kindness provides a stable foundation from which to navigate difficulties. It reminds us that, despite the chaos around us, we have the inner strength to remain calm and compassionate. This resilience is essential for maintaining peace in the face of anger. By embracing loving kindness, we also contribute to a more compassionate world. Our individual efforts to cultivate metta inspire others to do the same, creating a collective wave of kindness that can overcome anger and division on a larger scale. Loving kindness transforms not only our emotions but also our mindset. It shifts our focus from what is wrong to what is right, from what divides us to what unites us. This positive outlook fosters a sense of hope and possibility, even in the most challenging circumstances. In conclusion, embracing loving kindness is a vital tool for healing anger. It empowers us to respond with compassion, forgive with grace, and maintain inner peace amidst external turmoil. By integrating metta into our lives, we create a harmonious existence free from the constraints of anger. The role of meditation in erasing anger. In the journey to erase anger, meditation stands as a powerful ally. Imagine sitting quietly, letting your mind settle like a calm lake after a storm. Meditation offers us this peaceful refuge, a place where anger loses its grip. But how exactly does meditation help in overcoming anger? When we meditate, we learn to observe our thoughts without judgment. It's like watching clouds drift across the sky. Instead of reacting to each cloud, we simply watch them pass. This practice helps us see anger for what it truly is, a fleeting emotion that doesn't define us. Through regular meditation, we develop greater self-awareness. We begin to understand the triggers that spark our anger. Perhaps it's a particular situation or a certain person that sets us off. By recognizing these patterns, we gain the power to respond differently next time. Meditation also cultivates patience. In moments of frustration, our first instinct might be to react impulsively. But with meditation, we train ourselves to pause and breathe. This pause creates space between the trigger and our reaction, allowing us to choose a more thoughtful response. Another benefit of meditation is emotional regulation. When we meditate, we practice staying present and centered, even when emotions run high. This ability to stay calm amidst chaos is invaluable in managing anger. It helps us maintain our composure and handle difficult situations with grace. Furthermore, meditation fosters compassion. As we sit in stillness, we connect with our own suffering and extend that understanding to others. This empathy softens our hearts, making it harder to hold on to anger towards others. We begin to see their struggles and feel less inclined to react harshly. Breathing exercises, a common meditation technique, play a crucial role in calming the mind. Deep, mindful breathing slows our heart rate and relaxes our muscles. When anger arises, taking a few deep breaths can help dissolve the intense emotions and bring us back to a state of balance. Mindfulness meditation, in particular, is effective in dealing with anger. It teaches us to stay aware of the present moment without getting caught up in past grievances or future worries. This focus on the now prevents anger from festering and growing out of control. Meditation also enhances our ability to detach from negative thoughts. When anger takes hold, it often comes with a torrent of negative thinking. Meditation helps us observe these thoughts without getting entangled in them, allowing them to pass without affecting our inner peace. Regular meditation practice rewires our brain, making us less reactive and more resilient. Studies have shown that meditation can reduce the brain's response to stress, which is closely linked to anger. By strengthening the areas of the brain responsible for emotional regulation, meditation makes it easier to manage our anger. Additionally, meditation encourages a positive mindset. As we meditate, we cultivate gratitude and appreciation for the present moment. This shift in perspective helps us focus on what we have rather than what we lack, reducing feelings of resentment and anger. Visualization techniques used in meditation can also aid in erasing anger. By picturing ourselves handling situations calmly and peacefully, we prepare our minds to respond in similar ways in real life. This mental rehearsal makes it easier to maintain our composure when faced with anger-inducing scenarios. Meditation provides a sanctuary for self-reflection. In the quiet moments of meditation, we can examine the root causes of our anger. Understanding why we feel angry helps us address the underlying issues, leading to lasting peace and emotional freedom. Moreover, meditation strengthens our connection to the present moment. Anger often stems from dwelling on past hurts or fearing future problems. By staying present, we prevent these thoughts from taking root and fueling our anger. The practice of loving-kindness meditation is particularly effective in transforming anger. It involves sending positive thoughts and wishes to ourselves and others, including those we feel anger towards. This practice softens our hearts and breaks the cycle of anger and retaliation. Meditation also helps us develop a non-judgmental attitude. When we meditate, we learn to accept our thoughts and feelings without labeling them as good or bad. This acceptance reduces the intensity of anger, making it easier to let go. Through meditation, we build mental resilience. Life is full of challenges, and anger can be a natural response to adversity. However, meditation equips us with the tools to handle these challenges calmly and constructively, preventing anger from taking over. Furthermore, meditation enhances our overall well-being. A calm and healthy mind is less prone to anger and more capable of experiencing joy and contentment. By prioritizing meditation, we invest in our emotional health and create a foundation for a peaceful life. Incorporating meditation into our daily routine doesn't have to be time-consuming. Even a few minutes each day can make a significant difference in how we manage our emotions. Consistency is key. Over time, the benefits of meditation will become more profound and noticeable. Finally, meditation connects us to a deeper sense of self. It reminds us that we are more than our emotions and that true peace comes from within. By tapping into this inner reservoir of calm, we can erase anger and embrace a life of serenity and happiness. Through the practice of meditation, we unlock the ability to transform our anger into peace. It is a journey of self-discovery and inner healing, guided by the timeless wisdom of Buddhism. As we continue to meditate, we move closer to a life free from anger, filled with compassion, patience, and enduring calm. Practicing detachment from ego and expectations. In our daily lives, how often do we find ourselves upset because things don't go as planned? Have you ever felt frustrated when someone didn't recognize your efforts, or when your expectations weren't met? What if you could let go of these feelings and find peace instead? Imagine waking up each day without the heavy burden of unmet expectations or the constant need to prove yourself to others. How would that change the way you live and interact with the world around you? Ego and expectations are powerful forces that can shape our emotions and reactions. When we are attached to our ego, We seek validation and approval from others. We want to be seen as successful, capable, and worthy. However, this constant need for external validation can lead to disappointment and anger when things don't go our way. Expectations, on the other hand, create a set of standards that reality may not always meet. When there's a mismatch between what we expect and what actually happens, frustration and anger can quickly arise. The Zen teachings guide us to understand the nature of ego and expectations. The ego is like a mirror that reflects our self-image and how we believe others perceive us. When our sense of self is tied to external factors, we become vulnerable to negative emotions. Similarly, expectations set a framework for how we think things should be. When reality deviates from this framework, it disrupts our inner peace. Detachment doesn't mean ignoring or suppressing our emotions. Instead, it's about observing them without becoming entangled. By practicing detachment, we create a space between our feelings and our reactions. This space allows us to respond to situations with clarity and calmness rather than reacting impulsively out of anger or frustration. One simple way to practice detachment is through mindfulness. Mindfulness teaches us to stay present and fully experience each moment without judgment. When we are mindful, we become aware of our thoughts and feelings without being controlled by them. This awareness helps us recognize when our ego is influencing our emotions or when our expectations are leading to disappointment. Another effective practice is meditation. Meditation helps quiet the mind and reduces the incessant chatter of the ego. By spending a few minutes each day in meditation, we can cultivate a sense of inner stillness that supports detachment. This stillness allows us to see situations more objectively and respond with wisdom rather than being driven by anger or frustration. Letting go of the need for validation is also crucial in practicing detachment. When we release the need for others to approve of us, we free ourselves from the emotional highs and lows that come with seeking external approval. Instead, we find our worth within ourselves, which remains steady regardless of others' opinions or actions. Expectations can be managed by embracing the concept of impermanence. Everything in life is constantly changing, and nothing stays the same forever. By understanding and accepting this truth, we can reduce our attachment to specific outcomes. This acceptance helps us navigate life's uncertainties with greater ease and less emotional turmoil. Practicing gratitude is another powerful tool in fostering detachment. When we focus on what we have rather than what we lack or expect, we shift our perspective from scarcity to abundance. Gratitude grounds us in the present moment and diminishes the power of unmet expectations to disrupt our peace. Letting go of ego and expectations also involves cultivating compassion, both for ourselves and others. When we approach situations with compassion, we become more understanding and less judgmental. This mindset reduces the likelihood of anger arising from perceived slights or unmet expectations. It's important to remember that detachment is a gradual process. It requires consistent practice and patience. There will be moments when the ego and expectations feel overwhelming, but each time we practice detachment, we strengthen our ability to remain calm and centered. Embracing simplicity can aid in detachment, simplifying our lives by reducing unnecessary desires and focusing on what truly matters helps minimize the triggers that fuel ego and expectations. A simpler life is less cluttered with the need for validation and the pressure of high expectations, creating more space for peace and contentment. Understanding the difference between needs and wants is essential in this journey. Needs are fundamental for our well-being, while wants are additional desires that can lead to attachment. By prioritizing our needs and letting go of unnecessary wants, we reduce the sources of frustration and anger. Self-reflection is a valuable practice in identifying the roots of our ego and expectations. By regularly examining our thoughts and motivations, we can become aware of the patterns that lead to anger. This awareness allows us to address and transform these patterns, fostering a more detached and peaceful mindset. Building resilience is another aspect of detachment. Resilience helps us bounce back from setbacks without being derailed by anger or disappointment. It involves developing a strong inner foundation that remains unshaken by external circumstances. Letting go also means accepting that we cannot control everything. By acknowledging the limits of our control, we release the burden of trying to manage every outcome. This acceptance brings a sense of freedom and reduces the frustration that comes from unmet expectations. Detachment enhances our relationships by removing the layers of ego and unrealistic expectations. When we interact with others without the need for validation or the pressure of specific outcomes, our relationships become more authentic and harmonious. Practicing detachment doesn't mean becoming indifferent or detached from emotions. It's about maintaining a balanced perspective and not letting emotions dictate our actions. This balance allows us to experience life fully while remaining anchored in inner peace. Incorporating detachment into our daily routines can transform how we handle stress and challenges. Whether it's dealing with a difficult person or facing unexpected changes, detachment equips us with the tools to navigate life with grace and calmness. Visualization techniques can also support detachment. By visualizing ourselves handling situations with calm and composure, we train our minds to respond in this manner in real-life scenarios. This mental rehearsal reinforces our ability to detach from ego and expectations. As we practice detachment, we begin to notice a shift in our overall well-being. The constant churn of anger and frustration gives way to a deeper sense of peace and contentment. This transformation enhances our quality of life and brings lasting happiness. In conclusion, practicing detachment from ego and expectations is a vital step in erasing anger from our lives. Through mindfulness, meditation, gratitude, and other simple practices, we can cultivate a detached mindset that fosters peace and reduces anger. By letting go of the need for validation and embracing the impermanent nature of life, we create a foundation for lasting inner calm and happiness. How forgiveness transforms anger into peace. Forgiveness is a powerful tool that can transform our anger into lasting peace. When we hold on to anger, it consumes us from the inside, creating a barrier between ourselves and the world. But forgiveness allows us to release that burden and find harmony within ourselves. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack filled with stones. Each stone represents a moment of anger or resentment. The more stones we add, the heavier the backpack becomes, making our journey through life exhausting and difficult. Forgiveness is like taking out those stones, lightening our load and making the journey smoother. In Buddhism, forgiveness is not about condoning wrongdoing or forgetting the past. It is about freeing ourselves from the chains of anger that bind us. By forgiving, we let go of the negative emotions that keep us trapped in a cycle of suffering. When we forgive, we open our hearts to compassion and understanding. Instead of focusing on the hurt caused by others, we shift our attention to healing ourselves. This shift in perspective allows us to see the situation more clearly and respond with kindness rather than anger. Forgiveness also helps us break the cycle of retaliation. When we hold on to anger, we may feel the urge to seek revenge or hold grudges. This only perpetuates the cycle of negativity. By choosing to forgive, we stop the cycle and create space for positive emotions to flourish. One simple example of forgiveness can be seen in nature. Consider a river flowing smoothly around rocks and obstacles. Instead of forcing its way through, the river gently moves around them, maintaining its calm and steady flow. Similarly, forgiveness allows us to navigate around the obstacles of anger, maintaining our inner peace. Forgiveness does not mean that we become weak or allow others to mistreat us. It means that we take control of our own emotions and choose not to let anger dictate our lives. This strength empowers us to live more freely and joyfully. Practicing forgiveness begins with self-awareness. We must recognize when anger arises and understand its source. Is it a result of unmet expectations, past hurts, or misunderstandings? By identifying the root cause, we can address it more effectively. Mindfulness plays a crucial role in the process of forgiveness. By being present in the moment, we can observe our emotions without judgment. This non-reactive awareness allows us to respond to anger with calmness and clarity instead of impulsive reactions. Another important aspect of forgiveness is empathy. Trying to understand the perspective of those who have wronged us can soften our anger. We may realize that they, too, are suffering or acting out of their own pain. This understanding can pave the way for genuine forgiveness. Forgiveness also involves letting go of the need to be right or to have control. Often, our anger stems from a desire to be validated or to change the actions of others. By releasing these attachments, we free ourselves from unnecessary suffering. In Buddhist teachings, the practice of loving-kindness meditation can aid in forgiveness. By cultivating feelings of love and compassion towards ourselves and others, we can soften our hearts and make forgiveness a natural response. Forgiveness benefits not only our emotional well-being, but also our physical health. Chronic anger has been linked to various health issues, including high blood pressure and heart disease. By letting go of anger, we promote better health and longevity. Building a habit of forgiveness takes time and patience. It is not a one-time act, but a continuous practice. Each time we forgive, we strengthen our ability to release anger and embrace peace. Forgiveness also enhances our relationships. When we forgive others, we create a foundation of trust and understanding. This fosters deeper connections and mutual respect, enriching our interactions with others. Sometimes, forgiveness requires setting healthy boundaries. It is important to protect ourselves from repeated harm while still holding space for forgiveness. This balance ensures that we do not allow others to take advantage of our willingness to forgive. The journey of forgiveness is deeply personal. Each individual's path will look different, and that is perfectly okay. What matters is the intention to let go of anger and embrace peace. As we practice forgiveness, we begin to notice subtle shifts in our mindset. Anger loses its grip, and we find ourselves responding to challenges with grace and resilience. This transformation is a testament to the power of forgiveness. Forgiveness also aligns us with the Buddhist principle of non-attachment. By not clinging to negative emotions, we free ourselves from the suffering they cause. This liberation brings us closer to enlightenment and inner peace. In moments of intense anger, it can be helpful to take a step back and breathe deeply. This simple act can create the space needed to choose forgiveness over reaction. Deep breathing anchors us in the present moment, calming our minds and hearts. Forgiveness is a gift we give ourselves. It is an act of self-love that nurtures our soul and promotes emotional healing. By forgiving, we reclaim our power and choose to live a life filled with peace and joy. Ultimately, forgiveness transforms anger into peace by shifting our focus from what has wronged us to what can heal us. It is a gentle yet profound practice that leads us toward a more harmonious and fulfilling life. As we continue on this path, we discover that forgiveness is not a destination but a journey. Each step we take towards forgiveness brings us closer to inner peace and a life free from the burdens of anger. In embracing forgiveness, we honor our own well-being and contribute to a more compassionate and understanding world. This ripple effect of forgiveness extends beyond ourselves, touching the lives of those around us. Through the practice of forgiveness, we align ourselves with the teachings of Buddhism, embracing the wisdom that guides us toward lasting peace and happiness. Let forgiveness be the key that unlocks the door to a serene and balanced life. Final reflections and embracing a life free from anger. As the journey to erase anger comes to a close, it's important to reflect on the path you've traveled. Imagine waking up each day with a heart full of peace, free from the heavy burden of anger. How would your relationships improve? What new opportunities might arise when you let go of that constant frustration? Picture yourself handling life's challenges with calmness and grace, turning every obstacle into a stepping stone towards inner harmony. Throughout this series, the teachings of Buddhism have guided you to understand the roots of anger and provided you with tools to dissolve it. You've learned that anger often stems from our own attachments and expectations. By recognizing this, you've taken the first crucial step towards transforming your emotional landscape. Just as a gardener tends to their plants, nurturing them with care and patience, you have tended to your mind, cultivating a garden of serenity. Embracing patience has been a cornerstone of your journey. Patience allows you to pause before reacting, giving you the space to choose a response that aligns with your true self rather than a fleeting emotion. This practice not only reduces anger but also enhances your ability to connect deeply with others, fostering stronger and more meaningful relationships. Compassion has played a vital role in dissolving anger. By extending kindness to yourself and others, you create a ripple effect of positivity that counteracts negative emotions. Compassion softens the heart, making it easier to forgive and let go of past hurts. This gentle approach transforms anger into understanding, allowing you to move forward with a lighter heart. Mindful awareness has empowered you to observe anger without getting entangled in it. By staying present and fully aware of your emotions, you can identify the triggers that ignite your anger. This awareness provides you with the clarity to address the root causes, rather than merely reacting to the surface-level symptoms. Mindfulness becomes a powerful tool in maintaining emotional balance and preventing anger from resurfacing. Understanding impermanence has been another key lesson. Recognizing that all emotions, including anger, are transient helps you to accept them without resistance. This acceptance reduces the intensity of anger, allowing it to pass naturally without leaving a lasting impact. Embracing impermanence fosters resilience, enabling you to navigate life's ups and downs with a steady mind. Loving kindness has been instrumental in healing anger. By cultivating a heart full of love and goodwill, you replace anger with positive energy. Loving kindness practices, such as sending thoughts of love to yourself and others, create a foundation of inner peace that diminishes the power of anger. This transformation leads to a more harmonious and fulfilling life. The role of meditation in erasing anger cannot be overstated. Regular meditation practice quiets the mind, creating a sanctuary of stillness where anger cannot take root. Through meditation, you develop the ability to center yourself, reducing stress and enhancing your capacity for calmness. This consistent practice strengthens your resolve to live a life free from anger. Practicing detachment from ego and expectations has liberated you from the chains of anger. By letting go of the need to control outcomes and accepting things as they are, you release the grip that anger has on your mind. Detachment fosters a sense of freedom, allowing you to respond to situations with equanimity rather than frustration. Forgiveness has transformed anger into peace. By choosing to forgive, you release the negative energy that binds you to past grievances. Forgiveness is not about condoning wrongdoing, but about freeing yourself from the burden of resentment. This act of letting go creates space for healing and paves the way for a peaceful existence. Understanding the influence of karma on anger has provided you with a deeper perspective. Recognizing that your actions and emotions have consequences encourages you to cultivate positive habits and thoughts. By aligning your actions with compassion and mindfulness, you create a cycle of positivity that diminishes the presence of anger in your life. As you embrace a life free from anger, you begin to experience profound changes. Your mind becomes a place of tranquility, your heart open to love and understanding, and your spirit aligned with the principles of Buddhism. This transformation is not a one-time event, but a continuous journey of growth and self-discovery. Incorporating these teachings into your daily life ensures that the peace you've cultivated remains steadfast. Each day presents new opportunities to practice patience, compassion, mindfulness, and forgiveness. By staying committed to these practices, you reinforce your ability to maintain emotional balance and prevent anger from taking hold. Surrounding yourself with supportive and like-minded individuals further strengthens your resolve. Engaging with a community that values peace and understanding provides you with encouragement and accountability. Together, you create an environment that nurtures your journey towards a life free from anger. Embracing gratitude has also played a significant role in your transformation. By focusing on the positive aspects of your life, you shift your perspective from what is lacking to what is abundant. Gratitude fosters contentment, reducing the likelihood of anger arising from dissatisfaction or unmet desires. Letting go of grudges and past hurts is essential in maintaining your newfound peace. Holding on to resentment only serves to perpetuate anger, keeping you stuck in a cycle of negativity. By choosing to release these burdens, you create space for healing and personal growth. Developing emotional intelligence has empowered you to navigate your feelings with greater ease. Understanding your emotions and their triggers allows you to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. This self-awareness enhances your ability to manage anger effectively, promoting a harmonious inner state. Integrating these practices into your daily routine ensures that the lessons you've learned become second nature. Whether through meditation, mindful breathing, or acts of kindness, each practice reinforces your commitment to a life free from anger. Consistency is key in solidifying these positive changes. Reflecting on your progress brings a sense of accomplishment and motivates you to continue on this path. Acknowledging the strides you've made reinforces your belief in your ability to overcome anger. This positive reinforcement fuels your dedication to maintaining inner peace. As you move forward, remember that setbacks are a natural part of the journey. When anger arises, approach it with the same patience and compassion you've cultivated. Recognize it as an opportunity to practice your skills and deepen your understanding. Embracing a life free from anger opens the door to a more fulfilling and joyful existence. You experience greater harmony in your relationships, increased mental clarity, and a profound sense of well-being. This transformation enhances every aspect of your life, allowing you to live with purpose and serenity. The teachings of Buddhism have provided you with a roadmap to navigate the complexities of your emotions. By following this path, you've gained the tools to transform anger into peace, frustration into understanding, and resentment into forgiveness. This journey has not only erased anger from your life, but has also illuminated the way to a more enlightened and harmonious existence. As you continue to practice these teachings, you become a beacon of peace and positivity for those around you. Your transformation inspires others to embark on their own journeys towards emotional freedom, creating a ripple effect of tranquility and compassion in the world. In conclusion, the path to erasing anger is a continuous journey of self-discovery and growth. By embracing the principles of Buddhism, you have unlocked the potential to live a life filled with peace, love, and understanding. This newfound freedom from anger empowers you to navigate life's challenges with grace and resilience, fostering a harmonious and fulfilling existence. May you continue to walk this path with courage and wisdom, embracing each moment with a heart free from anger and a spirit aligned with peace. Your journey is a testament to the transformative power of mindfulness, compassion, and forgiveness. As you move forward, carry these teachings with you, and let them guide you towards a life of enduring peace and happiness.